there you have it. The transfer window is done. All of the there we lands and the here we goes have finished. And although it looked like a slightly dodgy one at the start for Aston Villa, I think we've actually come out of this transfer window looking pretty decent. So today we are going to be analysing the whole window. We're going to be grading our outgoings, our incomings, and then looking at our before and after squad and how all of these new signings will fit in, as well as giving a bit of a prediction for how each of them are going to do. There was some big blockbuster ins and outs, right? John Duran and Marcus Rashford immediately ping to your mind when you think about this transfer window for Aston Villa. There was a lot of disillusion with a certain man called Monchi from our fans as well, due to a couple of the signings, a couple of the outgoings, but we've managed to pull off, I think, a pretty decent window. So before we get into the video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe down below. We are well on the road to 5,000 Aston Villa heroes, legends and Premier League Donnies. Subscribe to this channel and comment down below what were your thoughts on Aston Villa's transfer window. It was January, so we didn't expect such a big load of incomings and outcomes, or at least I didn't. But let's get into grading the incomings first. I think that's the most exciting bit, so we've got to do it first. So as you can see on the screen, we've got the trusty tier list up. We've got S tier, which is like the best it can be, A, B, C and D. And we only have 5 signings to go through. Again, it's January. It's not like the massive window, and we've split up the incomings and outgoings. And we're going to start with the signing that we announced last, Axel Disasi from Chelsea. It's a straight loan, no option to buy, a £5 million loan fee, and we are covering his entire salary. Now, I'm almost tempted to put this one straight away up in S, but I'm going to be a little bit more reserved and put it in A, purely because he's already an Aston Villa legend and he literally hasn't kicked a ball for us. He agreed to join Aston Villa after speaking to Emery about 12 days ago, and since then he rejected Spurs and I think going abroad like 5 times and said, no, I'm going to play for Aston Villa. That is the long and short of it. I'm not going anywhere else. And for that reason, he's shown more loyalty to this club than players like Jack Grealish and Fabian Delph did, and they were our captains for a long time. So for that reason, he already goes high in my book. Now, honestly, I don't know how this transfer is going to work because he is a bit dodgy. We know that. Chelsea fans will tell you for free that they don't think he's the best centre-back in the world, but he was so highly rated at Monaco. He'd done all right for Chelsea, to be fair, when he first signed for them. It's only afterwards he's had a slight dip off in form. And, you know, look, we needed cover for Konsa. We needed cover for Diego Carlos. He brings a lot of pedigree, European and top 5 league pedigree. And for what it is, which is cover for Carlos, who has obviously departed us to go to Fenerbahce, I don't think you can complain too much. Next, we're going to move on to Donyell Malen. Now, the jury for me is a little bit out on Malen. He can be a hit or miss player. It is an upgrade on Jadon Philogene-Badace. We made a profit on Badace and signing Malen. The books balanced out pretty well for us. But again, it's a risk. He's come on, he's looked okay, he looks dynamic, he looks energetic. I think it's going to take him a little bit of time to sort of learn how to play under Unai Emery. A couple of things that you can see that Emery wants to probably get out of him. He's going to have to learn to track back more, to help out more with the defence. But overall, I don't think it can be anything lower than a B because, you know, he's, again, another established Champions League player. Just what we need, an injection of pace. And finally, Leon Bailey, for the first time in what feels like 2, maybe a season and a half, has some real competition on the right-hand side. And we're going to get onto a little bit more competition for both of them in a little bit as well, as you can see by the bottom of the tier list. Next, we have Andreas Garcia, and I'm going to put him in B as well. Matty Cash needed competition as a minimum. I think we need a new starting right-back, but with Nedeljkovic going out on loan with a buy option to RB Leipzig, which we'll get into a little bit later on, he's clearly a player that Emery likes. We saw him for 45 minutes against Wolves, and although it was a bit of a bad game from everyone's point of view, you know, in a Villa shirt, I thought he actually looked quite bright. He got on the ball, he looked rapid, he was beating his man, and he put a couple of good crosses into the box as well. Cash is out for 2 to 3 weeks, so we're going to see a lot of Garcia over the next month or so, and the early signs are that he could be a very, very promising right back indeed. Next, we move on to Marcus Asensio, and I'm going to put him in. I'm floating with this one. I'm going to put him in B because I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. I don't think it's quite an A-level signing. Yes, again, we're talking about pedigree of players that we've brought in here. It is another loan deal, no option to buy. We're covering his entire salary, which is a very, very hefty salary of around £235,000 per week. So you'd assume he is going to get a lot of minutes for Villa. The interesting thing for me about this loan deal is that there's apparently a clause that we can activate. Very similar. I'm trying to think. We have had one like this before, or we've loaned someone out that's had like a clause like this in it before. Where if it gets to summer and Emery, the team, etc. are happy with him, we have an option, and I don't know if PSG can say no or not. Again, I don't negotiate contracts. We have an option to extend that for an extra year. So he'll be on loan the whole entire next season for us as well. I assume under the same terms, covering the salary, no option to buy. He is 29 years of age, so he's a player in his prime. He brings tons of pedigree, tons of class. And if Emery can get him firing, you know, he's a typical Emery player. I saw like this guy on Twitter called La Liga Scout, who said that Asensio and Emery is like one of the most logical partnerships in football, right? But where's he going to play? Is he going to play on the right? So we have three options on the right. He can play as a number 10. He can play as a striker as well. So interesting to see. I think he's a bit of a floater player for me. And then the last one, the big one, right? All the engagement on social media was about Marcus Rashford. And I'm chucking him right into here. And I'm going to tell you for why. Look, this is a make or break signing. This is Marcus Rashford's chance to reignite his career. It's gone Pete Tong for him at Manchester United. We all know that. But if this goes right, yes, we're paying a lot of his salary. Yes, he's on a lot of money. We have a buy option for only 40... Sorry, I've just knocked the table there. We have a buy option for only £40 million in the summer, which for a player like Rashford, if he can get firing, that almost seems ridiculously cheap. So that'll be an interesting one. But look, Rashford can go one of two ways. And the reason I'm going to put him in S is, one, just in terms of for the club and revenue. I'm seeing United fans on Twitter driving to Birmingham to buy Aston Villa shirts with Rashford on the back. The numbers that it's doing on social media, and as much as that doesn't impact on the pitch, we all know due to PSR, football is a business, right? And engagement, social media, etc., the whole commercial side of it, getting a player like Marcus Rashford in a Villa top, even if it is for 6 months, is going to bring so many more eyes to the club, and it really could make it, you know, we could blow up in terms of commercial revenue because of this. Hello, Severus. The other part of this is that Marcus Rashford is a player that could come in and play, let's be honest, he'll probably play about, 25 games for us, maybe 30 games in the remainder of the season if we progress through the likes of the Champions League and the FA Cup. He's a player that in those, let's say he plays 25 games, he is a player that could get 15 goals and 7 assists, 20 goals and 5 assists. He's the type of player that could get, he could equal the amount of games with the amount of goals and assists. It could go the other way, and he could be terrible. It could be. It could happen, right? We know that he is a player that when he's out of form, he doesn't perform, right? But if all goes well and he's firing, if this, even with the ridiculous amount of fees and salary included, where we are right now, we're 8th in the Premier League. I think we're about 6 points off of 4th at the moment. If Rashford can even help us or have a part to play, whether minor or major, or any of these signings, in getting us into at least 6th. I think we need to get at least Europa League next year, right? 5th place in the Champions League, 6th Europa League, 7th Conference. If he has a part to play in us getting 6th, you'd be hard found to, you know, the commercial revenue that comes in from that, the sustainability of the club going forward, all hinges on us getting that European spot. And when Marcus Rashford is on form, he's one of the best wingers in the world. And if Emery can recapture 60, 70, 75% of that, this loan deal is an absolute winner. Or a winger. Hey, cut that from the video. God. So I'll ping something up on screen in a second in regards to our outgoings. I won't do a full tier list for it because I spent ages talking there, and I know you guys probably don't want to hear me waffle for half an hour. But in terms of outgoings, right, the big one, John Duran, 65 million plus add-ons to Al Nassr. At first, I was really upset about this one. I thought, I just want John Duran to stay. But then I thought about it. He wanted to leave in the summer. He caused a right fuss. He came in, got a couple of games in the team, scored a couple of goals and was giving it Billy Biggs. And then gets dropped to the bench again. And all of a sudden, Al Nassr come in and he's gone for the money, let's be honest. He hasn't said a single thank you to Villa on social media. Not that he's, you know, not that we're entitled to a thank you from him. But it would at least be nice. Do you know what I mean? It would at least be nice. 21 years old, going to go and spunk your career in the Saudi League. Crack on, mate. You know, and we've got Rashford. If we didn't get Rashford, I would have been more upset. But actually, pedigree of player, Rashford's better. So it is what it is. And we got a lot of money for him. We bought him for 18 million, sold him for 65 plus add-ons. You can't be too mad at that, you know. The other outgoings, obviously, Jadon Philogene-Badace, it was not working at Aston Villa, so we made a profit on him somehow. Can't be angry at that one either. There's been a variety of loan signings going out as well. Obviously, the big sale, the other sale was Diego Carlos. Again, that looked really bad. Now we've signed Disasi. I'm not too mad about it. We have a player in. It is what it is, right? Diego Carlos' time at Villa was up, and apparently it was another player that just wanted to leave as well. We've managed to keep hold of Watkins, which was massive considering the Duran sale. We've sent the likes of Louis Barry, Joe Gauchi, Kostan Nedeljkovic has gone out on loan with a buy option. Not too happy about that. I think he has a lot of potential. But that's, again, Leipzig might not even take us up on that buy option, so we don't know what's going to happen with that. Sil Swinkles has gone out on loan as well, left-footed centre-back. We've also signed Yazin Ozcan, who's going to come in the summer, but I'm going to actually save that for the summer video because there's a lot to say about him. I really think he could be a good player. So for the outgoings, I think overall, actually, you look at them, perhaps you would have wanted to keep Duran, but now that Rashford's come in, I haven't seen a single Villa fan even mention Duran. Now Rashford's come in, so it is what it is. Do you know what I mean? I'm not too mad at him at all. A couple of big ones in there. We've made a lot of money this January transfer window, and we've improved the squad. How can you be angry at that? Do you know what I mean? You probably can. Comment down below. I'm sure a lot of you are going to be angry. So on screen, you can see the squad before this January transfer window. Obviously, with Watkins, you can put Duran in there as well. You can switch those two around. You can bring John McGinn into the team. You can bring Ross Barkley into the team. Digne into the team there. Carlos into the team there. Nedeljkovic into the team there. So let's have a look at how we could line up after this transfer window and the depth options that we have. Now, the depth before, really, you had Bailey, his depth was Jadon Philogene-Badace. It really wasn't working. You had Watkins, his depth was Duran. Brilliant. We know he's saved us so many times this season. So that was a big one that we had to replace. Tielemans, the depth there really was Rodgers coming in. Rodgers and Ramsey, John McGinn as well. You had Ross Barkley to cover these positions and Tielemans to drop a little bit lower in there. Maatsen, you had Digne on the cover. Pau and Mings. Obviously, Mings is going to be starting now, but we have Mosquera, who's currently playing for the Colombia under-20s, and they're having a really, really good run. It's either the South American Championships or like the under-20 World Cup or something. He's a left-footed centre-back. We originally signed him and sent him out on loan. He's actually going to come back to Villa after the under-20 Championships, that's all I'm going to call it right now because I don't know which one it is over, and he's actually playing really, really well, so that could be an option as well for a left-footed centre-back to cover. Concert, you had his cover being Carlos, and then Cash, you had his cover being Nedeljkovic, right? So we move over. This is how we could line up. Oh, that front four is incredibly exciting. Rashford up front, Rodgers, Asensio and Malen. Obviously, Watkins is going to be starting. I'm just doing this for the benefit of the video. I'm sure you guys know that. Kamara and Onana, if Onana can stay fit and his hamstrings all of a sudden aren't made out of glass anymore, then, again, I don't want Kamara playing centre-back because he's the best CDM that I've seen in a Villa shirt since Gareth Barry. Do you know what I mean? So we need to get him starting in that centre-mid spot. Maatsen and Digne still on the left-hand side. I'm pretty happy with that. Right? I don't think that's a massive problem area for us, even though our defence is terrible. I don't think you'd look at our left-back situation and think that's the one that we need to sort out. I've put Disasi and Konsa in there. Mings should be back in the next couple of weeks. Pau should be back in about a month or so he's getting closer to his return. But Disasi and Konsa as a centre-back pairing is absolutely fine. And then, again, when Mings and Pau are back, you have them there. And Disasi is the Konsa cover. You have Garcia, Cash when he's back from the injury as well. Malen and Bailey and Asensio can all hold down that right mid spot. For the number 10 role now, you have Rodgers, Asensio, Tielemans. You have all of these options at that number 10 slot. It's honestly so exciting. I think Rashford... Right. How would I line up? I'm getting all giddy and excited. How would I line this team up with all of our new signings? For me, it goes a little something like this. Rodgers stays on the left, with Ramsey being the replacement for that. That is incredible that we can even say that right now. We have Rodgers, one of the best players in the Premier League, I think, this season, unplayable on his day. And then you have Ramsey, who's just getting back into form and fitness and looked really, really good against Celtic in the Champions League. Oh, that's an exciting partnership. Anyways, Rashford as well. Oh, actually, you know what? Oh, would Rodgers even start as a number 10? Actually, I think I'm going to do this. This is how exciting it is right now. I don't even know what I'm doing. I think Rodgers is probably going to start number 10. Right, we'll put Rashford on the left-hand side. Rodgers in that number 10 slot. You have Asensio. We're going to get rid of him on the bench. I mean, to have a player like Asensio on the bench as well. Are we Aston Villa or Real Madrid right now? I'll tell you who. We're going to be beating Real Madrid in the Champions League semi-final or something like that. Anyway, Rodgers and Watkins, we all know that's a strike partnership that works. Now you have a choice on the right. You have Malen, you have Bailey, and you have Asensio, who can also play on the right. I would go for Malen purely for pace reasons. But maybe you go for Asensio so that you can have the more attacking fullback option. Just a thought. I think Onana at the moment is too much of a liability with his injuries. So I think we actually do that. Kamara and Tielemans working as the double pivot. It works really well. Yes, Tielemans is great going forward and having that more freedom in the number 10 role. But he's also equally as good, playing a little bit deeper and just commanding the play. And with Kamara next to him, who can do the job of 10 men in that defensive midfield slot, I don't think that's going to be too bad. I think that Digne might keep his position in the team, and then eventually you're going to have Powell coming back, Konsa, Cash and Martinez. Now that, again, the back four, possibly Disasi actually comes in and stakes a claim for it. But you look at that team, you look at that front four, you have Asensio on the bench, you have Jacob Ramsey on the bench, you have Leon Bailey, who's actually starting to get back to his best on the bench, you have Onana on the bench, maybe even Onana starts coming in, Garcia, who looks like a really promising fullback going forward. You have Disasi on the cover. You have Mings now back to where he probably should be, which is on the bench, covering for Powell. You have Maatsen. I think this is a good transfer window. I really do. So what are my ultimate thoughts on this transfer window? How am I grading this transfer window? And I'm going to slap a big fat A on that thing right now. And I'll tell you for why. We've made a lot of money this transfer window, right? John Duran, 65 million. Jadon Philogene, 20 million. That's 85 million. Diego Carlos was about 10 million. So we've made about 100 million, give or take, in player sales. We've signed Malen for about 18 million. We've made about 75 million from the Champions League because we got top 8. Yes, the loan deals, you are kind of, it's almost like renting, right? You're renting a player, so you're going to lose a bit of money on the books, covering salary and loan fees, etc. But then ultimately it will go, and then we can reassess our situation in the summer. And we've improved in every position. John Duran was a fantastic player with an amazing amount of potential, but Rashford's better, let's be honest. On his day, Rashford is better. Jadon Philogene, again, a lot of potential, not showing it for Villa. Daniel Malen, proven, probably a better player. Diego Carlos was just not playing very well. Disasi, yes, he has a mistake in him. I don't think anyone would try and tell you that Diego Carlos was a better defender than Disasi, though. Kostan Nedeljkovic, tons of potential. I think he's really, really good. I hope he doesn't go on a permanent. Garcia, in the 45 minutes that we've seen, looks like, right now, he is a better player. So we've improved. I mean, Asensio for Buendia as well. Look, Buendia, we all love Emi Buendia. Shout out to Emi Buendia. Done really well on his debut. If he gets signed for 20 million in the summer, though, if Leverkusen take up that buy option, no one's going to be complaining because that's a great deal for Villa. And Asensio, let's be honest, he's a better player. So we've improved. We've made a lot of money. And now I look at this team. Yes, defensively, we still need to sort that out. But then again, Emi Martinez has been terrible this season. He's made a couple of great saves, but I think overall he would be the first to say he really hasn't been good enough this season. We've had a lot of injuries that should be due to come back in the next few weeks, and we have signed that cover for Carlos. So yes, we haven't strengthened overall in defence. We have signed a new right back though, and a new right-sided centre-back. So I suppose technically we have, but I think that defensive issues is down to the players right now. They need to sort their heads out. But offensively, we've improved tenfold. The squad has improved tenfold. We have so much depth going forward now. Let's not forget you have Ross Barkley coming back from injury as well. And the centre mid role has been a bit of a point of contention. We've been playing Lamar Bagard there, who I don't think is quite ready yet. But Tielemans being dropped further back because of all of these amazing world-class offensive options, to me means that Tielemans is going to be that holding midfielder again, which means we have more cover there now. So we have 4 players again in that central midfield role. And I think just the type of players that we've signed are the type of players that will improve the players around them. Watkins is going to get more service now. Rodgers, can you imagine Rodgers just pinging the ball about with Malen, Asensio, Rashford? It's going to be insane. And I, for one, cannot wait for the second half of the season. I think this squad and those signings now, I think we're going to get Europe again. And we could even have a decent run in the Champions League. That's a knockout team if I've ever seen it. Sit back, loads of pace on the wing, Rodgers and Tielemans to carry the ball out, spread it out to Rashford and Malen on the wings. It's a good time to be a Villa fan. Comment your thoughts down below, guys. As always, subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys soon.